No jokes. This special meeting of the Common Council, November 13th, 2023 is now in session. Please rise. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Anthony. Descaludi.
Here.
Brick.
Here.
Harris. Moranti.
Here.
Morris. Here. Roney.
Here.
Sar.
Here.
Walker. Wallace.
Here.
President Pietro.
Here.
Former president.
Can I get an introduction and a second to receive the call of the meeting? Arthur, Margaret. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We are here to approve or not a resolution identifying, you want to put that up there by any chance? Identifying the city as the responsible local official authorized to access at New York State Department of Transportation's Equitable Business Opportunity System. Let's start with an introduction in a second. Arthur and Margaret. Questions? No questions?
What exactly does that mean?
What do you mean? Okay, Rob, I think Rob is there. Is Rob on? Rob, do you want to give a quick summary of what we're voting on here?
Yeah, I mean, it's, as far as I can understand, there's federal, because as I've stated, several times, this is really a DOT project. It's not a City of Hudson project. We're just kind of administering it. And so since a large portion of the money is federal money, there's a slew of federal regulations. And one of them is this civil rights reporting system that was created back in 2007. Sorry. And in it, the contractor is required to put various, it's kind of like we see with MWBEs and DBEs. They're required to put what kind of opportunities are in there, and it's kind of a clearinghouse. So that way qualifying companies can be made aware of various contracting and sales opportunities. So, but in order for the contractor to do that, the city has to have an account set up. And in order for the city to have the account set up, we have to designate a city's responsible local official, which is me. So once we have this, then we can work with DOT, get that set up, and then we can move the process along. And this is the only outstanding piece at this point, because we still need DOT to allow us to authorize or give an award to Colarusso. So once this last piece is done, then they'll say that we're able to proceed and we can move forward with the project.
So this is just the formality of the process.
Correct. And in case there's any confusion, anybody listening, we're talking about the bridge, by the way. It's not mentioned in the resolution.
Yeah, right. It's about the Ferry Street Bridge.
Yeah. A roll call vote, please, Tracy.
Councilmember Descaludi.
Aye.
Brick.
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Morris.
Aye.
Roney.
Aye.
Sar.
Aye.
Wallace.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rob.
I'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah. Can I have a resolution and a second to adjourn?
How about a motion to set a resolution?
I'm sorry, thank you. Oh, you're really looking for my
He's on
job.
call today.
Can I have a motion and a second to adjourn? Arthur and Margaret, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And before we leave, I just want to say, if you missed Michael singing at Veterans Day the other day, you missed a major event.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, see you in 10 minutes?
Yeah, we'll be using the same Zoom meeting, so stay on, no need to leave. But we will mute the room, for the intro.
Do you want to turn off video as well?
Sure.
I work for the city, I don't know if I have any money to be.
Excuse me. Okay.
When I'm you.
I will, yeah. Okay, this is the informal meeting for November 13th. Copies of draft minutes of the October 10th and 17th meetings have been posted on the city website. So we'll get right to department reports, but I don't see fire here, so postpone them. And please, no side comments. Youth department. Come up, speak to the app.
Hello, everyone. So October was a pretty good month for us. We still have steady signups. It's a little bit of a slower rate than it had been the first month, but it's still steadily happening. One of the highlights of the month is we had some Halloween parties, not just for our younger kids, but for our teens as well. It was really cute. So we gave them little goodie bags and they were even more excited than the younger kids, which was nice. We finished up our youth department soccer league season. We had some final games, some cupcakes, and we are getting ready for winter programs. So last month we spoke about Bindlestick Family Circus After School, Operation Unite, and Columbia County School of Art, and the amazing programs that they're doing with our students at the after school programs. So today we're going to talk about two of the programs we didn't talk about last month, two nature programs that we're working with. So students at the youth center are currently participating in Flying Deer Nature Program, which is out of Chatham and not Great Barrington, but somewhere over Massachusetts. They also have another site. Yeah. Somewhere out there, but they're coming to us. They're really excited to come to us. They're utilizing Oakdale as their main site for all their programming. And we're also doing Garden Club, and Garden Club is doing a lot of planting and nature hikes and discovery. So in Flying Deer's program, the kids are exploring nature at Oakdale through wilderness bushcraft skills and fun games. They've learned fire safety, how to collect the materials for, start, tend to, and properly put out a fire. They're learning knife skills and safety, and they're going to use that knowledge to create different craft projects. And this program aims to meet mature young people where they are in their development of risk assessment, spatial awareness, new responsibilities, making safe choices, and gaining empowering skill sets towards independence. And they're doing storytelling, roasting marshmallows, forest discovery adventures, and smiles. Here's some photos of some of this stuff. One of the things that I have noticed about this program in particular is the way it's kind of teaches through experience and adventure, and the kids are doing things that they've never done before. And watching the kid go from really uncertain about whether or not they even want to participate to being really excited about the skill that they're learning and that they're then showing has been really cool. We have one young student who goes to this program, and every time we go, he just like discovers something new that he didn't know was possible, and his face just lights up. And this is really nice to watch the kids out there experiencing this. They're also participating in a garden club with Vanessa Bear, who used to work with us at the center. She's now an independent contractor. They're exploring nature through the lens of food and plants and have a lot of fun activities and field trips planned. They planted a bunch of the trees that have been recently planted over at Oakdale. There's elm trees, willow trees, and elderberries. They walked the trails to collect acorns and walnuts, and they spent time planting over 100 bulbs in the yard around the youth center on 3rd Street in hopes of creating a really beautiful landscape for the community in the spring. So make sure that when you drive through there in the spring, you check it out. There's a lot of different varieties. They should come up periodically throughout the season, not just all at once. So that's really exciting. And I believe this week they're going to be planting garlic in the garden area at Oakdale as well. And for those of you who don't know, garlic gets planted in the winter. It'll start sprouting in the spring, and then we'll harvest it in the summer. There's some photos of them planting and exploring. And this is the garden club went to High Falls in Philmont and did a hike there and experience there and learned about navigating trails and why you stay on trails and yeah, nature conservancy as well. So, all right. Community engagement. So we're doing a winter meet and greet. It's hosted by the Department of Youth Parent Planning Committee. It'll be December 9th from 2 to 5 p.m. I think there's a lot going on in the weekends in December, but if you can stop by, that'd be nice. The parent planning committee is headed up by Tyrone, our full-time rec attendant, and our secretary, Jenna Castillo. They're really looking to get more involvements with the community. So if you don't have kids, but you'd still like to be a part of that group, it's parent planning committee, but it's also a community planning committee. Some of the people that are in that group no longer currently have children attending, but are just wanting to support. You're gonna learn about the programs we're having offered at the youth center. We'll have basketball signups. Beautiful Racket, who works with our students, will be there, and they'll be performing the songs that they've been writing together and learning. And then we'll also have an art show. The Art School of Columbia County will be there. They'll be displaying the students' work, and the artists that work with them will be there as well. So hopefully we can see you guys there. Soccer recently wrapped up. Again, I really want to thank the parents and volunteers that we did have. We didn't have a lot. We don't have as many community members interested in soccer currently as we do in basketball. I know that for a while soccer was really big. I think that was a lot to do with Ken and how much he loved soccer and how much he wanted to bring it to the community. We're hoping to bring that love back. So we're looking continuously for volunteers for the soccer program. So if you know anybody in the area, around the area, who coaches, who might want to be a part of it. We're also looking at moving the program to the spring as a spring soccer program instead of a fall soccer program. We're weighing the pros and cons of that, but we're leaning towards a spring program instead of fall, which we would start this spring, coming spring, so that we don't lose a season. And then there's some photos at the end of the season. We did have a lot of numbers and skills and drills, so we do think that program is going to really build up as those kids age into the older groups for league play. We started basketball registration. At the time I did this, we already had 50 kids signed up. We've got about 20 more signed up now. Registration is available on our website, cityofhudsonyouth.org, and it will be open until December 16th. Last year, registration was open a little bit longer because we were having trouble getting people signed up, but it made it really hard to run the league, having registration open so long. So December 16th is the cutoff. Practices and games will start in January and run through February. However, during the month of December, we'll have 3 weekends where we're running a skills and drills for the kids to kind of assess the players so that our teams might be a little bit more evenly distributed this year. And if you know anyone who's interested in being a volunteer coach for the teams or for skills and drills or wants to ref or anything, let us know. That's all I have today.
Thank you. Council members, any questions? Vicky?
Vanessa is fantastic, by the way. Thank you for having her. Is it paid like an independent contractor?
Yes, yeah.
And it's on a weekly, like how many hours a week?
I think it's 2.5 to 3 hours. So all of our paid programming right now is through Friends of Hudson Youth funding, and we've created pay schedule of the expectations, and so everybody is, unless you have some amazing skill that exceeds what we pay for, it's all on the same. I don't have it off the top of my head, but
yeah, I know, that's good. I mean, if you can have her more, that would be great.
yeah.
I all through my years with my children, we did the soccer in the fall, and one reason I think it's the fields are very wet in the spring, and they may have a hard time sleeping in the fall.
Yeah,
it's also not very fun, everything's wet.
Yeah, spring soccer is already big in Columbia County and Dutchess County and all the surrounding areas. There's a lot of it happening already anyway. One of the hopes is that we could combine the league that we're running with a travel league, and then we could play other schools at the same time who have travel teams as well.
When I did it, we actually had soccer in the summer.
Yeah.
So ran right into, because you could play more games, and then we played against, Taconic Hills and different at the same age group.
Yeah.
We traveled on Wednesdays for travel days. But again, the interest in that.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is good to get this foundation and fundamentals in. Have you thought about indoor soccer? Because you don't need as many, but you can get the skills in there. You don't need as many in indoor soccer.
Yeah, indoor soccer is difficult because in the winter, all of the indoor space in the area is being used.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I would love to because it's the space.
Marvin, your question?
Yeah, sometimes in the past, you've given us numbers on how many children have participated. Is that something that you could put in every month? Like
Yeah,
how
it
many-
is something we
how many
are,
kids that you
yeah,
have each month?
yep, I've asked the secretary to make sure that she's creating that document monthly, however, she was unavailable last
That's
week
fine.
and today,
Yeah,
so.
no, you've reported
yeah.
it another time. And if you could include in it, you shared information, Vicky and I had asked for information on the number of children in a given month who are from outside the city of Buckley. If you could include that breakout, that would be helpful. At the most recent month, I think 1/3 of the children were outside of the city.
Yeah, I don't-
2/3 were in the city, in the data, so.
Yeah.
So it's probably fairly consistent.
I would say, yeah, I mean, our numbers stay pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I would say that's pretty accurate, because, you know, it is open to the whole school district, so, yeah. But I'll see if she can add that in,
Okay.
and it was my intention to have numbers.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Good question.
What's the sty? What the sty? What was this sty? God, the public's gonna ask.
Well, that's your first question. Now, you're not
Two
too.
questions. Liz, if you have time. About a year or two ago, you may remember I asked you about the youth department utilizing a Facebook page. And you said that once you got the regular site up and going, you would consider getting away from Facebook. That's how I recall it. You responded. And if anybody's paying attention to the media these days, you hear about concerns about children in Facebook. It's not healthy for kids to be on social media all the time, and Facebook's a problem. I guess I'm trying to find out, has anything changed since we last spoke about this? What is the city or the youth centers, maybe the city's approach to utilizing Facebook? Are we all on?
Okay, that's three
Are we
questions
all
now.
on board with
That's
Facebook?
3. That's
So-
4.
So I can't speak for the city, but I have found that the only thing we use Facebook for is to announce things that we're already announcing on our other pages. If we don't use Facebook, the majority of the people that are parents and grandparents are referencing that, whether we think it's healthy or not. So if we don't use Facebook to at least put those announcements there, all of the announcements do redirect to our website. But we're putting it there because we don't want to lose those families of that contact. So that's what we use our Facebook page for, is literally just announcements to the page, the website,
So you're okay with using Facebook
for that purpose, yeah.
for any purpose?
Okay, Bill, you're way over your
Another
limit
question?
now. Let's move on.
Yeah, so
Thank
I
you, Liz.
recently saw somebody digging, doing an excavation at the entrance to the Oakdale Park. It looks like they it was to install a water pipe for the Big Towel Spa. Is that correct?
No,
Can you explain what was going on there?
I can check in with you later if you want.
So you don't know anything about it, or?
I'll check in with you later. I know some stuff about it, but we'll talk about it.
okay, moving right along. Chief, I'm sorry, Fire Chief.
Yes, I for it. No? Okay.
So, sorry I was late, it's been a little chaos over the last couple hours, but.
Right,
We
Um,
heard.
Another building saved, so it's good. So fire report for the last month. We've had one cooking fire. One car accident. 4 hazardous conditions, gas leaks or electrical wires down, some of that sort. Service calls, just smoke calls, smoke investigations, we have had 4 of those. 6 good intent calls and 15 false alarms. Or a total of 31 calls for the last month.
so can you update us about what happened today?
Not the ins and outs of it just yet, still under investigation, but, building was saved,
Don't understand, was it through the whole building or
no, just the second floor,
just?
yeah, so.
No, we're not about Cascades.
Yes, it was.
Cascades goes
Right, yeah. But minimal damage, building was saved, so.
Great.
Just curious about the false alarms, because we have legislation that we're putting in on alarms. When you say false alarms, are you talking about like all the kinds of alarms that are covered in that new code? Or is this?
Yeah, yes and no, you know, false alarm is an alarm of activation, so I mean, it's not, mischievous, so to say.
Right,
So I mean, it is fire alarms that are acting in the right manner, they're
Right.
just, it could be, steam or people smoking a cigarette too close to a smoke detector, things of that nature,
but
but.
it's not somebody calling in, it is the kind of, and it's not the.
Yeah, it's an actual alarm, like going to an alarm center.
So that is the stuff that the new code will address. You have multiple false alarms within a certain time period.
Yeah, we have, there are buildings within the city that we go to
Right.
routinely. But I mean, the alarms are acting in a normal
Right.
manner, it's just, the reasons why. Yeah,
And some false alarms, you have to go because you have to reset it too, right? Part of the thing, like I know my building, the only one that can reset a false alarm is the fire.
right, yeah, I mean, that's the way we like it. I mean, there's times that they get reset before we get there, but we address that, when it comes up, so.
Can I ask you, where was the car accident?
I don't have it on the report, but if it was my guess, probably one of the normal locations. Yeah, it doesn't give me the address of where that one is.
Were the people okay?
I don't have that
Oh, you
information
don't.
either on this, no.
They got it.
I'm not aware of any, incidences that have had any, injuries or anything.
Thank you.
Any other questions for council members? Okay, public,
All right.
two questions.
Great, thank you. I live right down the street here, 6th and State, and I often see your volunteer firemen in their private cars trying to get here, to get on the truck, I guess. And boy, do I see them speeding quite a bit. I'm wondering if are they allowed to exceed the speed limit to get here? Is there any policy about these guys driving faster than the speed limit?
Yeah, we do have a policy, and when those instances arise, we do, handle them on a case-to-case basis.
Are they allowed to exceed the speed limit?
No.
No. Well,
Okay,
it may not come as a surprise to you, but these guys that I see occasionally, more than occasionally, going way past the speed limit down 6th Street, up and down State Street to get here on 7th Street. And I hope that somebody doesn't get hurt. And I hope that these guys know that they're not to exceed the speed limit, because plenty of them are doing it.
No, we do reiterate that, very often. And
There's no reason for them to go over the speed limit, right?
that's just a question,
No
but
matter how big a fire it is.
Technically, if we were to outfit them with a blue law, according to New York State Vehicle and Traffic Code, and Bill, I can send it to you if you would like. They are permitted whenever there's a code 3 or beyond to exceed the speed limit to get here within the required.
Can they
time.
drive 90 miles an hour, Ryan?
Yes, they can, Bill.
well, okay.
That's nonsense.
Okay.
How much can they exceed it then? Tell me.
They can add the reasonable amount to be able to get here. If they can get here.
Man, yeah, gotta remove him.
Pardon?
Like it's getting to a point where he's making things unruly for people, and I'm gonna ask my commissioners no longer to attend the council meetings if they're gonna be treated like this.
You're gonna have to leave. If I have to call additional officers here, you need to leave.
What have I done?
Thank you, Chief. You're being
You're
unruly,
disrupting the meeting.
So is the mayor. He's not part of the common council.
and neither are you,
Neither
but he's
you.
allowed to
The voters
participate.
reflected that recently.
Okay, so, thank you, Chief.
Thank
Moving along, Heather is under the weather,
She's.
but she will answer questions when we get to the discussion we're gonna have later about the budget. So we're gonna, go right to, Chief Franklin.
Well, everyone. So for October, number of use of force incidents were 1. It was a mental health call, which a subject wanted to kill herself, so she had to be physically restrained and brought to the hospital so she can get treatment. The number of arrests were 27, and the bookings for 48 total charges for October. you have the report for the attached, police report, right? The number of emotionally disturbed persons calls was 4, and number of calls involving drug overdose was 1. 1 dose of Narcan was administered by our officers. An additional Narcan was administered by Greenport Rescue, and that person was brought back to life. There were 0 incidents involving pedestrians since our last meeting. And then the incident that I brought up with Bernardo Centino at the last meeting, he was arrested this past month. He was ROR'd to come back at a later date. Another park enforcement officer was also hired 2 weeks ago, and he is now full-time, part-time, right? So he's starting on his own, and will be working 3 days a week as well. And then we had the Harvest Festival on the 21st, which was pretty successful. Kids came, painted pumpkins, we had food and drink, so thank you to the city for supporting that. A special thank you to Spark of Hudson as well as Operation Unite, specifically Elena Mosley, who helped like spearhead this whole thing, and getting everything kick-started and making sure we had pumpkins and apples and things for the kids to take home with them. And then the last thing that I have is we are hiring a per diem actually, we're looking for 2 per diem communication specialists. So if anyone knows anyone, please let us know. There is an Indeed posting that Michael put up for us, and it's also on the city website. We have an interview tomorrow with 1 person, and so that's still pending.
What kind of skill set is that? What is that?
It's more secretarial, but it's posting incidents, calls for service, dispatching police officers to emergency incidents, things like that.
Are you losing someone or are you adding?
Adding, so this is for per diem, we're still at full for our full-time dispatchers, but trying to add to kind of fill in the holes.
Is there retirement on dispatch? Like, is there, can he, after 20 years, can he retire?
It's not 20 years, so that is just a normal state retirement, so they have to do 30.
Questions from other council members?
Yeah.
Vicky?
You're doing a great job having more police cars around. I see, the roads are a lot safer.
Thank you.
The boulevards are fantastic. I was wondering how's the Stewart intersection going? Because the other day I was driving and I saw a car, you know, on one side there is 1 lane, the other one is more. And then I saw a car waiting for the light, like went over onto the other side.
Yeah, it's a big
It
controversy.
seems to me, I don't understand why people cannot understand that it goes.
Yeah, I think it's been, so for years, there's been 2 lanes there. So it's been a learning curve for a lot of people to get over.
To get over that.
The 2 lights is very confusing, and I know I brought that up to the engineers at one point, but there's an intention behind that because, when the arrow, and please don't quote me on this, because I may misspeak. When there's a left arrow, the opposing side isn't able to go straight.
That's correct.
So they're able to turn left, so then when that's a solid green, then both can go. So
Yeah.
that was the purpose of both the lights, but I do know that the 1 lane is
Has there been
confusing.
an accident there?
Not that I know of, no, I mean, let's knock on some wood here.
Not intersection, I have one observation. I think people are getting used to it because it's like normal behavior everywhere else in the world. If you come to, you know. If you come to an intersection and there's traffic coming in both directions, you yield to the oncoming traffic
Yes,
at the light.
that's correct.
This is normal behavior. The one thing that I've observed, we used to have when you're coming down Fairview and you're turning right onto Green, you could only turn right on Green when you had an arrow. You could not turn right on Green if the light was red.
Yes,
And when it changed, that went away. So now there's no indication that says you cannot turn right if the light
I
is
thought
red.
there was a sign that was put up.
No,
There isn't?
And when I first interacted with it, I thought, well, I shouldn't be turning here. And then I thought, well, there's no sign. And the only time, I have only done it once, I thought, okay, I'll try turning right. And of course, I couldn't see what was coming from the left.
Yeah.
It's actually, we should have a sign that still says no turn on red.
Okay, I can talk to the commissioner about that.
Yeah, we used to have that. And we used to have an arrow. You could only turn when the light was green and you had an arrow.
do you know if that light is equipped to have an arrow or not?
Well, you wouldn't even need an arrow, all you'd need is no right turn on red.
Or wait for green?
Yeah, you're
But that
okay,
gets
green
me
is okay,
confusing.
the problem is when it's red, you cannot see the traffic. That's coming down to go,
Okay.
you know, that's coming down to go down Green Street on from the left.
Yeah.
Because there's a poor visibility line there.
Yeah, I'll talk to the commissioner about it.
Okay, thank you.
Council members, other questions?
And there was a hit and run on October 13th, I saw it somewhere.
There's a lot.
Possible.
You can run.
Hit and run.
Yeah,
Rings a bell. It doesn't, I don't have the information right in front of me.
later.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Was there anything on the freak accident on by the hospital?
Don't have much information on that as of yet. But I can email you about it, so.
Any other questions? 2 questions, no speeches.
Ms. Shanda, you've told me repeatedly via email that Lisbon Police Department just doesn't have time to do foot patrols through the 7th Street Park. That's still the case.
Tell me what you mean by numerous times, because I have yet to email you
You told
recently.
me. The same question, right? Not using them.
Don't be a wise guy, Bill, just answer. the question.
That, Hudson Police Force just doesn't have time to do foot patrols through the troubled 7th Street Park.
I'm not gonna answer this now. I've
So,
answered it
Because
previously
you don't
before.
want to announce it to these people? or-
No,
The common council is well aware of, what's going on with the police department. And I've answered your question, like you said, numerous
And you
times.
can't do any foot patrols through the 7th Street Park.
Well, if
Okay.
you continue to say we can't,
I'm
which is
asking
wildly
you, I'm
inaccurate.
asking you, if you're not able,
Well-
to. You're not answering the
I
question.
know.
Let it go.
It's a simple question, isn't it, Ms. Shonda? Are you able to do foot patrols through the park
yes, we are.
regularly?
I don't know what you mean by regularly, because you want us
This is
to
a manpower
schedule.
issue.
Thank you so much.
I mean,
Okay, move right along. Thank you, chief.
Is,
Oh, wait, you had it.
is
your fourth
Shane
question.
Bauer here?
No, he's not. Now, there's your second or third or fourth question.
Why isn't he?
Thank you, because there's no requirement for the commissioner to be here. I've told you that many times, Bill.
So he
At
chooses
some
not,
point-
so he
no.
chooses not to.
At
be
some
here.
point, you have to start paying attention to how things work and stop
I
asking
know
the
he's not
same.
required to be here. And you know what? There's a commissioner over there and she's not required to be here either, is she?
And isn't it great that she comes?
Yeah, where's Shane? Why didn't he ever hear?
Okay. Moving right along. Thank you.
Shane,
Oh,
where are you?
okay, Bill. That's the kind of behavior that'll get you thrown out.
I just want to make an observation.
Sure, Margaret.
We all like to have, you know, constructive, calm conversation. And we would like the public to participate. But we need to participate in a way that is civil and not destructive. And on our part, we also need to respond to the public in a manner that is civil and not destructive. So I just would urge everybody to try to calm down and just take it down a notch. That's
Just answer the question, that's all.
Okay, Rob, are you there? I don't see him.
I am.
Oh, there you are. Okay, you're up now.
Do, 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 do. All right. I'm gonna close that anyway. Let's get this over here. Boop. Okay. Oh, come on. There we go. So septage for September was 37,441. So we are on pace to meet the I believe the revenue was 460,000 for that for 2023. So that's okay. So I've been talking about down the sewer plant several times that one of the things that when you build a brand new plant that everything's new at the same time, which means everything ages at the same time. So we have 2 bar screens. They're basically something massive like this that grab the larger rocks, stones, leaves, and take those things out of the treatment process as the first step. And we have 2 of them down there. They're fully redundant. So each of them were designed to handle 17 million gallons a day. But one of them, we've repaired them numerous times over the last 13 years. one of them is finally totally shot. So we're investigating what kind of solutions and options we have. So at this point, just let you know, like what a full replacement of one of the units would be. They are pretty massive. This is 425,000. That's for 2 units. So it'd be 210,000 for one. There's another one for 236,000, and the third quote is around 155,000. So these are massive. They're about 30 feet tall. They're designed to basically a rake goes down into the flow, grabs all of the things that would leaves or rocks or whatever, hooks onto them, drags them up, and puts them into a screening press, which goes onto a conveyor into a dumpster. So it's an integral part of the process. And we're also trying to see if we can retrofit the existing, because any one of these replacements would involve demolishing the existing unit that's in there, and it'd be a significant operation. So I'm just giving you a heads up. We are running, we are compliant, but we at this point we don't have the full redundancy that we have had for the last 13 years or so. Also at the same time, the pump station on South Front Street was constructed, and we continue to have some of the issues with the pumps. The good news is that the pump station is so massively overbuilt that we don't have any compliance issues, but the pumps are big, 150 horsepower, which means they're pretty expensive to fix. So, a lot of our maintenance budget is really becoming more and more of a cost center for the department. Up at the water department, last month I showed you the corrosion of a caustic line. Here it is, it's removed. I showed you the tote that we use. So this is it running. There's a little hose coming out, and that was a bypass pump, and everything's been put back together. So that is all set. A lot of annual stuff. This is our backup generator for the water plant's a 200 kilowatt generator, and this is part of the annual service. We actually have 7 generators throughout the department. There are 2 for the water department, 4 for the sewer, and 1 for the garage, and 1 for the police department too, I guess, if you want to count that as a DPW thing. We have signs. We've had a lot of trespassing out in the reservoir, so we had a batch of new signs put up. Because people just think it's a body of water. It's they don't pay attention to the fact that it's our public water supply. So we'll be posting these out there. These are already along the water plant and the chain link fence there. Obviously, these are controlled sites. So saith the health department, the EPA, the FBI, and Homeland Security. So we got a bunch of new signs going up, just alerting people that these are controlled areas and restricted to the public. Annual service, the generator I did. Let's see, we have these are our backup backwash pumps, and just pulling those out. These are the backwash is part of the filtration process. It's all the smooch and stuff that gets taken out of the filtered water, goes into these tanks, and then these tanks dump it into our sanitary system. This was just a lateral that was partially buried for the school district. At the middle school, they had an issue trying to turn off their water, and it was this is part of the Empire State Trail. It just got covered, and they didn't have the means to find it, so we found it and excavated it for them. So down on 4th Street, that we finally got to address. We had a plan, but when we did some testing before, we realized we couldn't shut down enough of the flow for the guillotine saw to work, so we had to resort to line stops. So in this issue, we excavate a hole. Contractor comes in, puts a wraparound sleeve with this halo on it, and then there's a cutting blade that gets mounted to it, and that cutting blade has a little hydraulic pump that turns it, and as it turns, they apply pressure, and it actually cuts a coupon or a hole out of the top of the main. Then this gate gets closed, they remove it, they install a bladder, and that bladder gets inflated, and it restricts the flow. So they were able to do that. This is just a little sidebar. The picture's upside down. I apologize, but this is the old brick road underneath the road service. just thought that was cute. So anyway, once everything was stopped, the water flow, we were able to remove the wraparound sleeve so we could take the section out. And so this is what it looked like. So this is that hole, that break that we had on, I think it was back in July. And, you know, we're used to seeing water go down the road. You're not used to seeing the water totally underwater. This was an entire section of the main that just literally blew apart. So there is, you know, this is one of the pre-excavation things for the process, getting everything cleaned up. And this is the final fix. So we have a couple high max couplings, a new section of main. And, you know, while we're going through the process, we always install inline valve because one of the valves on either side was having trouble holding. So now we have a new valve in there that will assist us in the future. As far as regular seasonal restoration, this is a water service that was put in. You know, we come in, put a little concrete, some blacktop on top, finish it off. We're trying to get as much done before the asphalt plant closes, get the roads ready for the winter. More winter repairs, the new brakes and hydraulics for some of our large trucks. These are our heavy plow trucks. They also do most of the salting of the streets during the snow. Just doing some ditch repairs using a side ditching bucket. And then this is just millings, which we have left over from previous projects. And obviously that time of year, we took the docks out. So this is the cradle on our loader, hook onto it, pull that off. All the docks are out. And then this was the boat from the swoop club, or I'm not sure who it, or it's the guy from that schooner. Anyway, he brings a boat. It's part of his contract. Our guys are taking the hardware apart, fast it to his boat. He drives it over, and then we grab that with the loader. We also delivered some of the Christmas Village. The Lowe's has offered to kind of renovate and clean up a bunch of them, so we brought 4 of them out there. We do want to appreciate the Columbia County Highway Department who provided transportation. You know, it would have been a pretty big ordeal for us to get those out there. So we loaded them on their truck. They transported it out, and then our guys unloaded it on the site. We also delivered one to the police department. So the Hudson Police Department is going to be renovating one of these as a project for them. So that's there. Also seasonal, you know, we have at the cemetery, as well as all the dog park and the waterfront park, you know, we get, once the freezing temperature approaches, we blow out all the water lines because obviously they freeze. We don't want them to break. So this is a compressor. There's a quick connect here in the handhold that blows out. These, you know, we go open the spigots, which you see around the new section of the cemetery. Get that out of the way. This was from last month, one of the trees that got knocked down in that windstorm. You can see, you know, a huge hole from the root ball. Curbing is displaced, and, you know, after we cut and removed the tree, new topsoil is put down, seeded, a new curbing was poured, and, you know, we're just going to put some blacktop down and finish that up. So, regarding the Ferry Street Bridge, we just had the special meeting, which thank you very much for approving that. So once we get all the logistics done in-house, we'll be reaching out to DOT. They'll allow the city to start the setup, and then the contractor can start putting information in there. And you know, hopefully we can get an authorization to award rather quickly. And I know there was some discussion before, so I figured I'd provide this. This is the bid holders list for the Ferry Street Bridge. So there was 14 companies picked up a copy of the bids. 7 of them were contractors themselves, and the other 7 were either suppliers, fabricators, subcontractors, you know, that have significant stake in the potential construction. So they picked that up. You know, there was definitely, like I said, there were 7 qualified contractors in this list. So it wasn't like, you know, there were only, because 2 responded doesn't mean that none of the other construction companies didn't know about it. They knew about it. They just chose for whatever reason not to respond. And so outside of the EBO thing, we are expected to receive our authorization to award, and we should go from there. So that's what I have.
Thank you, Rob.
Questions from council members? Margaret?
Yeah, Rob, this is kind of a general question. I don't really expect you to be able to answer it tonight, but I think it's something maybe worth looking at. I know that you are working to get funding and to try to address our significant water main problems. Water main breaks seem to be more and more common, frequent. I think you would agree.
I would
Right?
not. No, they used to have 30 to 40 water breaks a year. We're averaging about 6 or 7. A lot of they used to blow apart on Fairview and Bailey and Jenkins. We replaced those mains. They used to blow apart on Green Street. We replaced that main. I mean, they do happen, but we used to have them in Washington. That's all been replaced. So a lot of the really bad problem areas. I mean, I'm not going to kid you and say there's not a lot of old infrastructure. There's a ton of old infrastructure. Probably if we have 20 miles of distribution main, 25% of that is 4-inch, which means you've got 5 miles of 4-inch cast iron mains. That's pretty old. But we don't, I mean, we used to have literally dozens of breaks a year. So, a lot of that's done. And we also do corrosion control now, which helps, maintain the integrity of what mains are in there. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure to be done and a lot of upgrades to be done for sure for various reasons, not just
So
breaks.
my question was, it's something I've talked to you about before. I know that the cost of in the water budget is increasing, and as you've demonstrated from your data, a lot of that is driven by the chemicals that you have to use, the rising cost in chemicals. But I wonder if there will be any way to determine with these water main breaks how much, but from what you're saying, it would seem like our utilization.
It's negligible. Yeah. I mean, when we flush hydrants, we go through 500,000 gallons. Daily, we put 1 million gallons into the system. When we flush hydrants, that's an extra 500,000 gallons. That's a lot of water. When we had that break that we were just talking about on July, that was by far the biggest break that I've seen, and I think we dropped about 20 or 30,000 gallons. So it wasn't that big. I mean, when that river loft burned, I think they used about 600 or 700,000 gallons putting that fire out. So certainly flushing hydrants and fires are going to do a lot of it. But as far as breaks, because most times we see the break or somebody calls us, we get in there, we turn some valves, and we're able to isolate the area, and we're able to kind of really address it quickly. Fixing it and repairing it, that takes a little bit longer, but it's like putting a tourniquet on it. We close the valves and we can stop the heavy loss early. That 4th Street one was obviously incredibly more significant than what we typically get.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Vicky?
Hi, Rob.
Hey.
So I worried a little bit about the trespassing at the water reservoir. I was wondering if you can put a couple of cameras there. I mean, I don't want anything to happen to our water supply.
Yeah, I mean, it's we actually do have a couple up there. I don't like to discuss all my super secrets in public. Thank you. We do have precautions in place, I'll say that. But it's, obviously, the people, they're not there for nefarious intention. They want to come fish. They'll stand on the dam to fish. They're just, oh, this is a beautiful spot. I want to have a picnic. And, and so that's what we just want to educate and let them know that it's not really acceptable. But yes, we do have other kind of safety measures in place out there.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other council members? The public? Yes, sir. Hello.
Okay, hi Rob. Just wanted to ask if you could give an update if you've made any decision as to next steps on the flooding on Union Street.
So we had the contractors come in, I think last week, or the engineers that came down. They had to take all the inverts and elevations. So what has to happen now? They basically have to go to all the manholes and everything around the area. That includes the alleys on both sides, partition, North Fifth Street. And then they have to put those into the model and then do the flow modeling. Because the question is, are we able to get to capture the houses upstream from you, divert them up to Fifth Street, but in order for that to happen, we need gravity. And if we don't have gravity, then it doesn't work, obviously. So, and we need a certain amount of pitch so that way we can maintain a certain amount of flow, because we need that as well as part of the process. So that's what they've done. They've, like I said, they just collected the data last week. So after that, I would imagine within a week or so, we should have some kind of an idea. And then once we get from that, then we'd have to put together a preliminary design report, and that would have to go to DEC.
One other thing, just on your map that was submitted for the Delaware engineer kind of update from October 13th. I noticed you got my house there as being one of the flooded ones, which I appreciate, but just to note, your map, you might want to update. There are several other houses that are also being flooded.
I think there's one across the 60 in addition to two.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Hey, Rob, I have a question about City Hall municipal parking lot that I've been curious about for a couple of years. There used to be the opposite side, overnight opposite side, alternate side rules in that parking lot. And I assume that was so that DPW could sweep out the parking lot, which is kind of large, after it snows. Is that correct?
I imagine it was done way before my time, but that's typically a way of alternate side parking for cleaning, maintenance, and snow.
But you're aware that a few years ago, the signs and the rules for the overnight rules in that parking lot were taken away?
I did it.
Okay, why did you do it?
Because it was based on a discussion with I believe the mayor, the police chief, and the planning board about opening up space for the various development projects. So that way they were the argument was if only half the parking lot could be used at any given time for overnight parking, that residents or people at the pocketwood factory there was diminished parking available. So by making it with no alternate side parking in the parking lot, now you've made the whole parking lot available for overnight parking.
But the rule was there so that you could sweep out the parking lot half at a time, one side at a time, correct?
You're right, that decisions and actions have consequences, so that's correct. There's cars there, we can't sweep it.
So it makes it more difficult for you to clean out the parking lot now that the rule has been taken away.
It is more difficult, yes.
It is more difficult, but you didn't see that coming?
That was brought in as a factor, that was considered, but the decision was made to the greater good of having more spaces available for overnight parking.
So there's large portions of the parking lot that can't be swept, piles of snow that remain for weeks or months at a time because the rule was taken away so that Galvin's developments and others could use the lot. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, my understanding was that residents in the neighborhood complained about the lack of parking. And so a decision was made so that the residents in the neighborhood would not be negatively impacted by all the new parking on the streets.
So are you okay? This is the last question. Are you okay with the situation where you're not able to easily sweep out the area and get it clean when it snows? Are you satisfied? It's been 3 years. Can you tell us, give us an update? Are you happy with the situation?
Well, Bill, I'll tell you this, it's the same situation we have at the Amtrak lot.
Keep it simple, Rob. Yes, you're satisfied or no?
Hey, Bill, is this
law?
You said 3 questions, right? That's between 4 and 2, right? From 42?
No.
Has it made anything better or is it worsened the situation?
Well, it is what it is, Bill.
Oh, there you go. That's so helpful, Rob. Thank you.
Okay.
The old non-answer from Rob Perry. It is what it is.
All right, 42. I'll see you later.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, next we have communications. One is a petition that will actually be addressed sort of in a later, resolution. And the police reports. Now,
Bill,
Bill,
please.
please.
You're me, leave. Get your
Um,
stuff and go. No, you need to leave.
Yeah, Bill,
For what reason?
for being unruly and disrespectful.
Get your stuff
Is
and go.
that part of the rules?
Yes, it is, actually.
What is it?
Now you're making it worse.
It's
making it worse.
You're unruly.
Touch my, don't
Hey.
touch my stuff,
Go.
police chief.
If
Don't
you-
touch my
Can
stuff.
someone please call the station and
Yeah.
have someone come up? Leave,
Don't touch my things.
then leave,
Understand?
then leave.
Do you understand?
Do you understand what
Understand
I'm saying?
my belongings,
Leave,
okay? Easy.
go. If you want your stuff, it's outside.
Hey, Johnson, it's Councilmember Wallace. Could you send a car up to the fire station? Chief Franklin just requested, a detail be sent up to an unruly, person from the meeting.
Unruly.
I'm sure you can imagine who it is. Exactly. Thank you. They're on their way.
It's fine. He can collect these things at the station, so.
Okay, so communications, now, I believe Margaret would like to either, you want to have, a discussion of the budget now, or should we do our resolutions?
Um,
I know you-
Can we do the
What?
resolution? The only reason I was gonna suggest doing the budget piece earlier was because, the things that I wanted to talk about, I was hoping the departments that were presenting would be around, but that's fine, we can do it at the end.
Okay. Oh, I see what you.
Yeah.
Oh, we should have asked them to stay. at the meeting.
Well, I didn't want to subject them to.
Got it. Okay, so let's go to the resolutions. Michael, please, you are on.
Sorry.
The always controversial resolution appointing Commissioner of Deeds. Do I have an introduction in a second?
I'll introduce.
Ryan and. The second resolution authorizes a vendor contract with Columbia County Rescue Recovery Kitchen. I'm sorry, not rescue, recovery kitchen. To supply meals for the Hudson Youth Center after school program and a related budget amendment. Can I have a first and a second, please?
No, you can leave, and you can get it at the station. I'm gonna come get it. No, I'm not giving you anything. Leave, Bill. Stop. 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 No, I'm going to give it to the officers and you can go collect it at the station. Leave. No, they're gonna take it to the station and you can go get it there.
Okay. I need to repeat that, it's about the contract. Or,
So this, I think, relates to a discussion we had during the budget about not having the food person, that position
Yes,
was
correct.
created out.
yes,
And the purpose of this is, an FTE was eliminated that would have been the food person, and that's what this is all about.
correct,
And this is reversible, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
totally, I'm not totally.
Partially reimbursable, I think.
Do I have a,
I'll introduce.
is that an introduction or a question?
I have a question.
Okay,
So, in terms of, because it says 80 kids. So, how's that determined on a daily basis? Because what happens if there's less? And I know the programs I ran, we had to have, a number before, so there's no waste.
good question, I suppose, we could all go over and have dinner, I don't know.
No, in the past, didn't they always make the meals available to take home for some of the kids?
Oh, yeah, that's what.
So like,
Yeah.
it's 80 prepared, so if you get 70, and there's 10 left over, you can give the 10 to the kids to take home too. There's no waste in that scenario.
Well, okay, because it depends on the program and reimbursement, because I know with us, we couldn't do that, we had to do it in the shared bin. Right, so if a meal was not given out, they couldn't give a second meal because it wouldn't be reimbursed. So I think it all depends on what the regulation.
Yeah, I understand.
It's a different program. I'm sorry for interjecting again, but it's a, Dominic is talking about the program that was done back in the day with the school district as well, where they had to have a count, and you can only give a specific number of lunches. This is much different. And from what I know, they'll be checking weekly on like the average of kids that are getting lunch and changing the amounts, but kids in this particular program are allowed to take food home. With the school district program from back in the day, they couldn't because there was different liabilities with the food being exposed to natural air for so long.
Okay, we can find out further if you need it, but in the meantime, can I have an introduction in a second? Margaret was there first. Okay. And I believe the one was second.
It all comes full circle, doesn't it?
The next resolution authorizes the mayor to execute a contract with Hyman Hayes Associates for a feasibility study of the pedestrian path along Paddock Place. This, I was referring in the communications to the petition that spoke to this issue. And Vicky has since managed to come up with a company who's, we actually allocated upwards of 5,000. It came in at 4.
Nice.
An introduction and a second, and then we can ask questions.
Yeah.
Vicky and Margaret, any questions?
Can I go?
You certainly
I'd
can.
like to explain this, that, yeah, Christy Aspey, put together this, petition. A lot of people from the boulevards are behind this. The area of Paddock is not safe at all for the kids walking or biking and pedestrians. We wanted to do it the whole way, all the way to the sidewalk of the entrance of the elementary school, but we came along with some problems. One of it is that the area north of Paddock, where the sidewalk ends, is not the property of this. It's not owned by the city. It's owned by the school. So we would have an easement, or the school can undertake the project of putting a sidewalk, which is preferable for us. The other area, though, is very easy. We can put just bicycles pedestrian path. Shouldn't be muds.
This is that curve, Vicky, that comes by the
Yes.
tennis courts and.
Yeah.
Yes, the tennis
Right.
court's going all the way to Oakwood, and it would really be, there was an accident there,
Yeah.
actually. And I think it would be a lot safer for the kids, and
Yes.
so do the engineers.
I drove it the other day, as I was telling Vicky, and as you're going up towards elementary school, there's really a blind spot for
Yeah.
people coming the opposite direction. So
Yeah.
it's really necessary to have a sidewalk.
And you've seen people take that. Right anyway, yeah.
Well, another issue is that especially during morning and afternoon drop off and pickups, that the cars are parking there, so the kids can't maneuver around them, so there's not a path that they can take. So that's another issue too, that they can at least have a safer
So
path.
this pedestrian path would be from Oakwood all the way to the stop sign of the tennis courts. It would be just a pedestrian path. The other part, preferably, we need to have a sidewalk, and that's something,
That's
a lot of, a lot of, you know, parents, they're gonna bring it up to the school, and hopefully we'll take over.
Great.
So that's all.
So the last resolution authorizes the city to submit a application for the 2023 Building Decarbonization Grant Application in support of a solar array project and subsequent obligation of funds. I hope can you put the full thing up, Michael, so they can see exactly what's requested here?
We can speak to it.
Yeah, I was gonna get to you, Ryan.
Okay.
First, let's get an introduction on this.
I'll introduce.
Ryan and?
Second.
Okay, Dawn. Ryan.
Okay, so, the CAC, I did these presentations last year, and then again with it was like May of this past year, but effectively, when you start looking at the energy costs that are within the city itself, water and sewer are two of the most expensive that we have. We worked with Suncommon to price out what a vertical array would be on top of the Dock Street garage, as well as the area behind the reservoir, and combined, they can actually generate enough energy that basically offset the needs of water and sewage. The challenge in getting anything onto the Dock Street garage is that that is the original roof, which has been bubble gum repaired since the 1920s. So, and a rough estimate from the county, who recently undertook this exact same project of the garage that's out on the Unitor Pike on Route 23, they paid about $438,000 to redo their roof. So knowing that we would have the cost of the roof plus a solar install, we're going in for some of the grant money to try to offset it. The talk about like realization of funds back, it's about year 7, year 8, that after the investment in the solar project, that the city would be putting back roughly anywhere between $150,000 to $175,000 back into the budget, because that would be generated and thereby net neutral in terms of energy use for those two buildings. So it's
So
money up,
it's like a 6 or 7 year.
realization of getting the money back, yeah.
Before you start, okay.
Correct, yep. And it also, Michael, how does it help us in terms of getting more of our, I call them green points?
Climate smart points, I'm not sure the value exactly, but it would.
It's significant, yeah. And it's something that I know that the CAC and many of the people in the city have been asking for, which is the exploration of rooftop solar as an offset rather than fields or anything else. So.
Right, the vendor contract?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's me.
Yeah, sorry, I just haven't used it at this point. Anyway,
I can answer questions if anybody
here's the
has.
thing. If we want to go ahead with this, we have to have a special meeting. Right, because it's due the day of our formal meeting next week.
Like submitted due.
It has to be submitted. So. Everybody on board with that?
Yeah, no,
Don't we already have a special meeting on Friday? I mean, Wednesday, Thursday, can we add it?
You would be the second, yeah.
There you go,
look
Dominic.
at these all smart people, they love this.
You're on top of it. You are correct. That's what. Okay. That's what I was,
When you say a vertical array, is that different than conventional solar rooftop?
Yeah, so
Is
the
it more like an antenna?
no, so vertical arrays, basically they pitch it at about a 20, I think it's a 24-degree angle. So traditional, the Dock Street garage is flat. So anything we'd have to do, we'd have to build up at an angle. And so what they did was they worked between, I think it was like 23 and 26 degrees to figure out exactly what would be needed. So it sits up off the roof, so it's actually gonna capture more of the direct angle that the
It's
sun
not
hit.
that high.
No, it's not like, yeah,
It's like solar farms you see.
yeah, exactly.
And you wouldn't put it on the field because they don't have the land or because that's.
They don't have the land over there. We had explored, Tom, do you remember when we looked at when was that?
oh, jeez. Oh, wow.
Putting it out on that land out there is very risky because there is a cap on an old dump that's there. And it's been there for about 20 years, I think, and there's the risk of disturbing that and unleashing whatever is in it into.
Yeah, that wasn't really the problem so much as people wanting to be able to walk on it.
Well, but that's also CLC or is it CLC trust is looking.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway,
one
yeah.
last thing, and this is outside, obviously not for this, but has anyone thought about pitching to the big box store parking lots? So a partnership where we can use your parking lots.
Where are you talking about? I don't understand.
Greenport.
That's not us.
Well, I realize that, but I don't know how these things would go, but they've got, that's a lot of just like waste of land.
Sure,
That would
county.
be a good spot for some solar panels.
That's a county board of supervisors. Yeah. It's not
Okay,
bad
so
idea.
to get back to our immediate,
So we want to have
oh,
a
yes,
special
sorry.
meeting on this.
Thursday,
Right,
Thursday before the budget.
Uh,
Before the budget.
this will have budget impact, right?
If we get the grant.
Yeah, it's only, the way that it's written is if we get the grant, then we commit to it. If we don't get the grant, there's no committal.
And how much are we committing to?
1.5, I think in total.
That's why I asked.
Right, where is the money coming from?
It would have to be, bonded.
but that's where the return is within.
So I think if we have a special meeting, we need to make sure Heather is there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And she's here and has her hand up right
yeah.
now.
Oh, go ahead, Heather.
Ryan, can you give me a sense of what the timing looks like in terms of when the city, if this gets approved, when the city would have to come up with those funds?
It would have to.
I'm sorry, and or do we have any control over that timing? Because that would make a significant difference potentially.
The construction would need to be completed. If we're given the grant, we have to complete construction within FY '24. And that includes the roof and the solar install. Now, following what the county did, they were able to do both within the course of, I believe he said 4 months. So that is possible. And then typically with solar, you are not out any money, and financing is also available if we wanted to go that route, but you are not out the money until the project is completed. So in theory, you could ride out and schedule this if you get the grant to be completed by 12/31/24. And then the monies would either be paid out of the 25 budget, or you would have whatever you would do for December of next year to.
So is it fiscal year or calendar year?
Fiscal year. Well, it's calendar. It's the state's grant is their fiscal for this grant is calendar.
It's calendar, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we can talk offline about this. I'm less concerned about when it has to be put, when the debt service has to be put in the budget, and more concerned about when we would have to go to market, and how we can coordinate it with the other things that we're having to borrow. We're already going to be borrowing a significant amount of money for the NYPA streetlights as well as refinancing most of the bans that we have outstanding. And it is far better to coordinate all of those in one offering than to do them one off, because the borrowing costs to go to market are not cheap.
And Michael, correct me, I believe they said that February is the decision point.
Yeah, grants would be announced February 24, and it is a 1-year grant period.
Okay, so let's schedule this for what our special meetings at 5:30. All we need is a vote. No, it doesn't even have to be 5 unless there's more. Do you think we need time for a lot of conversation?
I can send everybody to, they're on the CAC website.
Yeah, send us.
I'll send you the link and you can see all of the.
Okay, so just to be safe, we'll make it 5. This Thursday at 5, special meeting.
And that's gonna precede.
The special, or the public hearing, yeah.
That precedes the public hearing at 5:30.
Yes, correct. Okay, moving right along, we have a bunch of laws to talk about. Put on our desks. The first, and they've all, I believe, have all passed through the, now I'm looking at, yes, they've all passed through the legal committee already. A revised version of the alcoholic beverages proposal. Can I have an introduction and a second? Margaret and Ryan.
Good job on that.
Good job.
The next proposed law, adding a chapter to the city code titled filming, which is about potential costs and fees for filming in the city of Hudson. An introduction in a second. Margaret and Ryan. And the last amends the city code related to alarms. Now, Crystal, you had a question about this.
I did, yes. It's dealing with the fee schedule. So our current law for the false alarms has a fee schedule written into it. What I wanted to find out from the council is, do you want to continue with that where the fee schedule is actually in the local law? Or do you want to go by resolution where the fee schedule is set by the resolution? That's what I would recommend, because it allows the council to revisit this on a periodic basis without having to amend the local law each time. If that's the case, then we'll just want to amend this law to allow for that, and then the existing false alarm law to allow for that, get it reintroduced to the council as amended.
Okay, so we'll do that. We don't need to introduce it tonight.
Okay.
Great. And then a reminder that on your desks is the Community Choice Aggregation Program law, which I guess that means we're ready to vote on it next meeting.
So.
Yeah, we fixed it up, didn't we?
We still had some things to follow up on.
We did?
Yeah, Crystal, I did get response back from CAC, clarifying, the role of who is responsible for that third party entity. So I'll send that to you. I think if you're satisfied with that answer, that was the one outstanding item that we had. If you're satisfied with what I've gotten back to CAC, then we can probably bring it forward next week. But I'll forward the response I got.
Okay, we can circle back offline on that then.
Okay,
Yeah, I think we didn't send that one for this meeting because we were waiting for that.
got it. And that's it. A little more drama perhaps?
No, is there new business or no?
Oh, no, I think business.
What?
I mean, okay, hold on. Yeah, why, something you would like to add, Donna?
Yeah,
That,
I'd like to revisit, especially after what happened tonight and a couple weeks ago to me, that a decorum in terms of our meetings, because I'm a little concerned, in terms of where this goes, in terms of our safety. I was followed to work and
seriously?
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and
Excuse me one second, did you report it to the police?
no, well,
He should've.
he left
Okay.
after but still, it's not the place, but again, after, I mean, I'm concerned because again, I think we need to find out legally what we can do in terms of, decorum and everything, if we can put something in place that then can stick. I mean, we have Zoom, so there's an access to Zoom, so we're not excluding people if they can't be in public, they can be on Zoom, and it's a little bit more controllable on Zoom if it gets decorum gets out of hand.
I agree, Dominic, and what I'll do is what I did last time when we were still in City Hall and officially banned him from City Hall. So his argument since then has been, well, he wasn't banned from the firehouse.
Yeah.
So I will send a formal email to him, which is really, I mean, we've talked about this with our legal advisors endlessly. The most I can do is because of especially tonight's behavior, we can ban him from future meetings.
Well, I now that it's on, again, it's recorded and, I said to close here.
Right.
So, and especially what happened a couple weeks ago, so
And
I don't know what the escalation is.
And by the couple of weeks ago, you mean the following you?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, no, that's just.
but I mean, for all of us.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I know others had the same issue
Yes.
too in the past, so
Right.
it's just, I mean, I don't know if there's gonna be. It's a little bit more of a cushion for us. Especially when it comes to our meetings, especially, our safety and others, public safety.
Okay.
But I think, Tom, what we should do is also do it across the board, right? So so it can't be saying that it's targeted.
Right, but I mean, the ban can be specifically to him because he's the one who's, but I understand what you're saying. We need it's hard because you look at open meetings rules, they're not really tight on questions of banning people in general.
But it's not banning, it's controlled because, in terms of decorum, because I've seen some, you have 3 minutes, blah, 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 decorum, you have to address the council, you can't address the public.
I agree.
Right.
And you can do all that kind of stuff, but we've always kept it pretty loose because we like to let our people talk,
Yeah,
So, if you wanna say that, you get a certain amount of minutes. The thing about the minutes and the amount of questions is, the person in question continually abuses those limits. And then you're limiting other people who really wouldn't abuse it, so, but yeah, I understand what you're saying, and we can come up with something. In fact, I was thinking about doing it in time for our, when we get the next rules of order coming in January, maybe come up with something that'll deal with that.
thank you.
But of course, and you're right, the fact that someone can always attend by Zoom allows you to control things a little bit easier. And if he is banned physically from attending our meetings, he still has the option of going on Zoom.
Right, and if it gets out of hand on Zoom, then,
Oh, it's, believe me, it's a,
right, Michael's got that button.
oh, come January, I'll have a button too.
Yeah.
I get my new computer thanks to the, unless they take it out of the budget. Okay, other news, somebody else has news, Ryan.
All right, so on a happier note, so this is just something I've been kicking around. I don't know if many of you know, but from the IDA's perspective, where Dominic and I sit, and the mayor as well, we've been involved in a potential deal to sell the, we'll call it unviable land that we have down off of North Second Street that abuts the landfill and more to the Columbia Land Conservancy for the price of $1. It is majorly wetlands to begin with, and what their vision is to do is to connect it to the Greenport Land Conservancy all the way up to Harriman Park in Stockport, or Stoughville, excuse me. The walking trails that Tom was alluding to are a part of this, and we actually had a really great meeting with some of the founders of the dog park that is also down there and fenced in. And it looks to be that there's going to be a road to collaboration between the two of them to build a trail that would actually bring waterfront access for the folks that are at the dog park, but as well as that with the Greenport conservation area, it's a place where you can take your four-legged friend, so to speak, you know, out on a walk and whatnot. Well, the other thing that abuts in that area too, if you've been down there, is the Empire Trail, right? One of the things that I have been kicking around is that at that intersection corner, that is the old Foster's refrigeration site. It is, as far as I know, and I'm still looking into this, highly undeveloped because of all the freon and antifreeze that is used at that site. So one of the things that I wanted to propose to the council to do is the idea of actually getting that paved in a way that would actually accommodate more parking, not just for the dog park, but for the fact that we would have an area within Hudson that people could either A, park and enjoy the Empire State Trail out of the city and back, or also the Greenport Land Conservancy Trail as well. Again, it's unbuildable property right now. I think there's a way to do it where it would be a little bit more sustainable. And it's definitely an area of public use that would serve a few different projects that have come from both the state and neighboring municipalities. So
I think you have to see if we can pave it because of sealing that or digging it up, because you can't dig it up. So I think you have to see, I think it's so limited what you can do because you really can't disturb that ground.
Rob has suggested that we could pave it, not tear it up though.
Okay, all right.
And that's where we would also, I would suggest that we do it in a way where we could even plant trees in between maybe some of like the nose to nose parking capabilities. To your point, you want to keep it at least a little bit to have the ability to absorb water, right? Because it is low floodplain that's down there. But second, provide trees a little bit more, anything that's gonna foster the healing of that area a little bit more. So
Well, and it provides you usable space, it's gonna be parking lot.
correct.
Right.
So it's just food for thought. It's a tricky piece of property because of the toxicity of it, but it could go to support, you know, people in the dog park that have put their own money toward it. The CLC, which is looking to actually provide that connectivity and green access for folks, again, down by the waterfront. So
Might be a good idea to bring it to the CAC, unless they've already weighed in.
I have not actually yet brought it to them, but I believe one or two of their members overlaps with the dog park crew, so they may be aware tangentially. But my intention is at least to try to get all three of those groups together before the end of next month for myself. I do know that the CLC trust folks have presented, and it's on the IDA website, sort of like what their vision is of being able to connect.
In terms of like planting trees, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you can't disturb the ground, then planting trees may not be feasible, and it may not even be a good idea depending on the toxicity of the soil.
That's fair. I mean, in which case paving it then is almost that is what makes it usable, and to put something of the.
Anyone else?
I just want to talk about that.
Please do.
So I hope everybody has time to look at it.
Yes, are we cutting Tom's computer? That was the first thing on my list.
You know, Vicky and I attended most of the BEA meetings, both the departmental meetings and the meetings of the BEA. I don't really want to go into, you know, detail on every piece of this. It was, I think, a fairly difficult process. And, the departments were very prepared, and I think, you know, there were difficult decisions were made. So I don't really want to get into that. There are just two areas that I want to talk about. One of which is, the garbage bag situation. Right now, the revenue we get from the sale of the blue bags barely covers the tippage fee. In addition to that, there's $155,000 in manpower to run the program and $15,000 for the people who roll those bags up. So this is a program that is costing the city a significant amount of money. It's not the only option that residents have. Some residents can take their stuff to the transfer station. Some residents can use a private company. In the years that I've been here, I initially did blue bags for a variety of reasons. I changed. In the time that I've been here, my cost for my contractor to pick up the garbage has doubled. And there has been no increase to my knowledge of any significance for the blue bags. And I think that this is a program that should pay for itself. And I think it's important to note that this is not, it's not a question of, well, that would be unfair to the less well-off residents and so on. There are plenty of people, one or two resident households in the first ward that are using this system. This is not a question of income or anything else. We just simply, I think, need to look next year at coming up with a process where this program can at least make more of an effort to pay for itself. The other thing that I know, when I looked at the numbers, the 155, I think that's both garbage and recycling, because they're the same kind of program. I used to take my recycling to the transfer station, and they, in recent years, because there's been, you know, there's a huge cost to recycling. In recent years, they now have a tag that you have to purchase. And it may be time for us to think about whether we need to have some kind of recycling fee. Other municipalities have done that. But I think we really need to look at that particular item next year as to how we're going to keep it going and keep it funded. So that was one element of the budget, that I don't know if anyone has any comments on that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, the garbage bags is $1.50 a bag, but you can't buy anything on that. Definitely should go up a little bit, which we discussed. Yeah.
And the other element in the budget that I want to talk about, which is unfortunate that Liz is not still here. In the last month for which she had data, 1/3 of the children attending the free after school program are not from the city of Hudson. So the city of Hudson and the Friends of Hudson Youth are basically providing this with an excellent service. And my concern about that in the long term is that if this is going to grow and be robust and be sustainable, we actually need to look at, and I have discussed it with the youth department and with Friends of Hudson Youth. I think it's time to think about a fee schedule associated with some mechanism to come up with revenue source from children who are not from the city.
So like the library.
But also, we already have a process in place for the summer program.
Yep.
So there is a way to figure this out. Again, it's not like I think, oh, we need to strike out this, that, and the other in this particular budget. I think there are some things in here where we need to think carefully about the sustainability of some of these programs. That was it.
Well, there's some programs out there, it's, if you're income eligible, that DSSN will pay for after school programming. So there might be some.
And that is,
fee.
yes,
That's
there
definitely
are other
important
avenues.
to look at. If we can establish the number of participants who are not from the
Right,
city, one of the first places we go is to the county.
and that is something, a discussion I had with Friends of Hudson Youth.
All right.
Because the data that Liz is able to put together now actually makes a strong case for us to go to DSS or to other entities in the county and say, look, we're happy to provide this service. these kids are, they're in the district, their friends are coming. We don't want to turn any child away. We do not want to do that, but at the same time, for this to be a sustainable, robust program, we need to make sure that we have, a solid financial basis. That's all.
Yeah, I'm just curious, and Michael, you might know some information if there's any data collected. Is there any benefit of keeping the garbage machine here after the move back to City Hall?
Oh. I don't know.
Why?
The reason why we would move it back is because often there are problems with the vending machine and it is believe it or not, every day. And people need help, so it is helpful to have staff nearby, and that's why we plan on bringing it back to.
Gotcha, okay.
You just want closer to where you live?
But that's an interesting question to think about if the location actually increases its use.
I like it when you have to go into City Hall personally.
And that increased the cost. Depending how many people they want.
Yeah, and about the receivables, what is happening with the foreclosure of the house on Powder? Because that should be money coming in.
Not really.
Well, we're gonna sell it.
Yeah, we can, actually. I don't know if you've been paying attention to what Heather said, or the Supreme Court said, actually. There's a new, ruling from the Supreme Court that profit made from the sale of a tax lien goes to the person who owns the house, and it actually is the right thing to do.
Well, we only get the taxes back. And
You only get taxes
yeah,
back, right?
we get no
You
profit.
back. But that, that's.
So how much is the tax, do you know that?
I think
Is
it's
that
like
calculated?
150. Heather?
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah, that's about right. It's between 150 and 160, but you have to remember that's not considered revenue. We recognize the entire tax levy as revenue on January 1st of every year. So what that would be is a reduction in our accounts receivable. So it's not revenue.
It's already in the budget.
Yeah, I noticed there's a hand up, and it happens to be our mayor, Kamal Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say to the council, like, I would err on caution when thinking about charging kids who have been displaced from Hudson who still attend the youth center and making any type of these decisions, even though they could be decisions that could save money without public input, because you're opening up the youth center and the youth center workers for unfair scrutiny by the public, as well as, a meeting that can get potentially out of hand, many council meetings that'll get out of hand. And if any of you tuned in to the last county meeting, that was one where people were very upset and felt like services were being taken away from the youth in the clubhouse situation, and that actually was, a meeting that got out of hand. So I would just give caution to the side of adding, the public in with this, because as soon as they hear that kids that used to live in Hudson are going to be charged or potentially charged, even if there's a scholarship, that is going to open the city up for a lot of criticism as far as its investment to youth.
I agree in a little bit, Mayor, but I think the county situation was a little different because, they chose, to take that program because of the sale, and they didn't consider, helping them out with an alternative. So that situation, it was a little different because they bought that building and they displaced that whole program, which was doing a great job.
I agree with you completely, Dominic. I'm just saying the timing of it, where now families were, at the county meeting hearing that news, and then they're going to turn around and hear this news as well. I just err on the side of caution.
Yeah, but I don't think we're saying we want them not to have them. We want it to be, like I said, my daughter couldn't go to Greenport, and I was closer to Greenport because they were charging. And we live in Hudson, and we were closer to that playground, but she couldn't go because he was charged. So, I mean, again, there's programs out there that could assist and everything. with that, and we gotta look at the numbers. I mean, we're talking about, 25 or, whatever the number is, and and.
No, I've seen the numbers, and I don't want to debate. I'm just saying, I warned you guys. That's all I'm saying is I'm trying to err in caution to avoid you guys having families and other programs as well, and their program administrators showing up to these meetings. But I'm just the mayor.
Yeah, but we also get it from our constituents that are seniors that are saying, why are we paying for kids that don't live in the city? Right?
I mean, you gotta pick and choose what investment you want to have to the young people.
Well, I mean, it's.
I think you're making a good point, Mayor, and it is something to be treated very delicately. We have put something in place around the summer programming, and I think it does have to be done very deliberately. And that's why, in my discussion of this, I'm not saying, oh, for this budget to pass, we need to make sure we have X, Y, and Z. I'm saying we need to start thinking about this. And actually, Mayor, it's really that in the last month that Liz had data for, 1/3 of the kids were not from Hudson, the city of Hudson.
Yeah, I saw the numbers.
Hang on, let me finish. It is a very successful program, and hopefully one that is going to continue to grow. And so what I'm thinking about is, in terms of the future of the program, we need to make sure that it is sustainable, precisely so that children are not turned away. That's where I'm coming from with this.
I mean, but the issue is that if kids are going there because their friends who used to be their neighbors and are no longer their neighbors now have to be charged to go, or whatever the mechanism is, if those kids decide not to go, that also is going to cause many students in our communities who do live in Hudson not to attend the youth center, which is also going to put them, in areas where they can get into trouble instead of being at the youth center where we want them, where they're safe, and educational opportunities where there's warm meals and all of these things. So like this comes down less to numbers and more to our commitment to young people in our community.
Could we have a suggested fee, let's say of $100 for kids out of town, and that usually a lot of organizations do that. And the idea is for people that can pay it, they pay it, and other ones they don't.
I think probably, I think we should take on board what Mayor is saying, and the best forum for this discussion. Yeah, it's
we're not deciding anything.
We need to have the youth department present, we need to have the Friends of Hudson Youth present, because we're not involved with that, and we need to hear from their thoughts and the mayor as well. But I'm just saying, we need to start thinking about this.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Any other new business? Excuse me? Is there a second? Margaret, thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes, we are done.